What's up, y'all? It's your host, Sensei AK, back again with another episode. You're watching the Dojo Podcast. I'd like to say thank you for clicking on this video. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, a subscribe, the whole 9 yards. Send it to a friend. All right, so today we have a jam-packed episode. What's on docket? Let's go through the docket first real quick. Let's go through the docket. All right, to start this off, so as y'all know, Ryan Coogler went and dropped another movie. He directed Sinners with leading star Michael B. Jordan, and when I tell you they dropped a banger, they definitely dropped a banger. I always find it so interesting when people say that they do not like movies, because I feel like I always have to remind them, I feel like it's not that you don't like movies, you're not getting a chance to watch movies that aren't just a remaking of a thing that you haven't just seen a while ago. And let me just start off with, this is probably my first time ever seeing a movie where the director is so important to the marketing and just the appeal of this movie in the first place. Like, my first time listening to an interview of Ryan Coogler, I was like, oh, I am most definitely watching this movie. Because of my whole thing is, I first heard his voice. First, he has a stutter. Second, he has a West Coast Bay Area accent, right? And at first I was like trying to figure out where's this accent from? Because I was like, when you look at him, I'm thinking this is a Louisiana guy, but it's like, no, it turns out he's from like Oakland. So I'm like, okay, fire. And this might be the first time having a movie using an accent to promote a movie such as this. So this has just been fire all around. And the fact is, I love how in every single interview, he is so unapologetically black that it's like, when you see him and hear him, like, oh yeah, no. This is a black man. This is definitely a black film. Oh, so before I even get into let's get into the movie. So a quick rundown if you haven't got a chance to see it. I'm going to try and explain it as much as I can without truly just spoiling this whole thing. So the movie Sinners is about these two twin brothers coming from Chicago back down to Mississippi to open a juke joint. If you don't know what a juke joint is, just think of it like a club where there's a bunch of dancing, there's a bunch of drinking, and it's just primarily ran by black folks in the specific area. And some hijinks happened. So first they had to go and collect their cousin Sammy. He's a musical genius that doesn't know it yet. And that's probably part of my favorite part of this movie, because you get a chance to watch, one, a coming of age story, and two, a coming of this is not just a coming of age story, but I feel like it's also a metaphor of watching your light shine and knowing you must do as you must based off the talent that God has given you. And not even to mention, it gets to the point where you're recognizing so many themes and so many well-rounded characters working together to tell one story that a lot of movies I feel like they tend to fall flat on. But as the story goes, so to start this movie off, they go and get their cousin Sammy, the musical talent, and then they go around Mississippi, find all the people that they grew up with so they can be able to open this juke joint. You tend to recognize a lot of different personality traits with these two cousins to begin with. It's definitely a great push and pull relationship that's going on, especially once they're together. And when they separate, you get a chance to see how individually different they tend to be, because of even the first scene with Michael B. Jordan. So it starts off when first time you see Michael B. Jordan playing a twin role, it's him standing right next to him, and then the CGI, actually it's not even CGI, just the editing in retrospect make you recognize how just beautiful this movie is gonna be, right? Because one of the big pulls was Michael B. Jordan playing a twin character, and it's not a common occurrence to be having one character play two dual roles, right? It got to the point where he when Ryan Coogler even introduced them to a twins consultant to see how twins move and the type of vibe that you have to give off to make twins work. And honestly, you could see some of the training that was going there. The conversation between spirituality and religion shines tends to come ahead when you look at the way that people even discuss spirituality in the first place. There seems to be a connection to the ungodly, the demonic, anytime that you bring up spiritual teachings and things of that nature, which is always a thing that I find so interesting, because especially in my own life, one of the things that I've noticed, especially when it comes to spirituality, or especially religions that are African religions that came before Christianity, you recognize the purpose of them tend to hold a lot of safety and a lot of culture, right? Because of humans have a way of putting in their own beliefs inside stories that they do write and tell each other, and they pass on to their kids and kids and kids and kids and kids, right? For example, the main story, one of the main stories, this might be just because I'm just a Nigerian man, right? We tend to talk in a lot of metaphors and riddles and things of that nature, and it gets to the point where every story has like 4 meanings. And the fact that I feel like, especially African parents, they tend to value a proverb so much because of it tells you a lot without telling you that much, right? For example, the tortoise and the hare, or the tortoise and hare, or it takes a village to raise a child, or the scorpion on the scorpion on the frog's back, for example, is a really big one. And a lot of these stories are here to pass on wisdom to the next generation, and a lot of that gets misconstrued and washed away when you start adding different religions on top of it and discrediting the ones that came before it. And honestly, one of the things I've noticed, especially as a Nigerian man, there's a lot of pushback on what's deemed as holy and what's seen as demonic, right? And one of the things that I've noticed, especially in this research, I was actively looking into Igbo gods because of the movie Sinners has a way of connecting it to past religions and religions that are around the world with different cultures behind them, right? So specifically with Nigerians, there's like a whole pantheon of Igbo gods, right? As an Igbo man in Igbo land, there's a lot of gods that they celebrate inside that specific area. If it's not, I have a list of them. If for one simple one is like the god Njaku is the god of yams and prosperity and things of that nature. And there's a couple more that I feel like kind of explain the context of the lives that a lot of Nigerians even lived in the first place. When it comes to erasure of cultures, and religions, you tend to not understand the reasoning behind what a lot of like parents and godparents and things like that do, because y'all don't have the background, right? For example, Anyewu is the sun goddess of good fortune and things of that nature. And that's why a lot of Nigerian people, specifically Nigerian women, keep on the surname of Anyewu, because of it's supposed to be in a sense of good luck and things of that nature. And then you could even turn that into names like Njaku, with a lot of NFL players have that first name or last name, and that means yams and prosperity. So there's a lot of history that gets lost when you just say all of this is just demonic. And that's kind of the conversation that Sinners is having when it comes to what should be deemed as important and what is deemed as just ungodly to begin with. And here's a quick just background to who Robert Johnson was. Robert Johnson was an untalented musician that disappeared from the 1930 to like 1932, and he came back with this otherworldly, this godly, or some saying this ungodly ability to play the guitar, and just his connection to the music was just incredible. There's no way that he was able to pick up this knowledge and this understanding of the guitar in this short amount of time. So people started up the rumor that he went to the crossroads to go meet the devil. And what he did, he shook the devil's hand, and then he came back with this ungodly power to play the guitar. So I went and looked into it a little bit, right? It turns out that's more so it was a Yoruba story that has been misconstrued over the past years to the people, where it's actually a Yoruba story about Robert Johnson going and meeting the deities Ilugwa and Iwusa. Ushu. Okay, yeah. Where it's actually a story of Robert Johnson going and meeting Ushu and Ilugwa. These are the crossroad deities, if you will, right? And one of the things I find so interesting, at worst, Ilugwa at worst is like Loki. He's literally like Loki at worst, because he's seen as a trickster god. So the fact that they were trying to make it seem out like this was literally from the devil kind of proves the point of seeing spirituality and things of that nature as just unworthy and ungodly to begin with. And that's how you get to the case where a lot of people don't know their heritage, or they don't know their background to what their culture truly is. And now let's draw all that stuff right back. Let's draw it all back to the movie Sinners. So if you didn't know, Ryan Coogler's Sinners has a whole lot of nods to different religions and cultures and history, of some in Mississippi to some of the culture in parts of Africa, some West African heritage and stories like that come through when you are watching this movie that you don't recognize until you be like, oh, I wonder what this little nod is, or this little thing here or there. And that's kind of what gets so interesting when you're watching the interpretation of the movie to begin with. So one of the ways that people kind of explain, one of the ways that you kind of look at the movie Sinners, you could see the twin brothers, Stack and Smoke. You could see them as devils luring away the son Sammy from the preacher, from his father, the preacher, because one of the problems that him and his father was having throughout the movie was the fact that his absolute love for the guitar and that ungodly music was drawing him away from the church. And one of the things that his dad kept telling him is, if you continue down this road, the devil will eventually come back with you. Very spooky. That's a very wild thing to say. And when you're watching the movie, it was crazy, because there was this connection between Sammy's father, the pastor, and the vampire that you see later in the movie, right? And it's I found it so interesting the way that they're able to connect those two things, because you tend to notice that both of those characters want the same thing when it's all said and done. They're only looking for the community to save them. We'll get back. We'll get there. So when you switch it over to what's his face, to Stack and Smoke, they kind of play an interesting role together when it comes to Sammy's development. So Sammy's more so this wide-eyed young boy that's just trying to make something of himself with the music and that talent that God has gave him, right? And there's this kind of underlying conversation that happens, especially in the church, when you have a talented musician, because of when they hear music such as rock and roll or the blues or jazz or things of that nature, that is viewed in such a negative light, even though the same people that are the preacher's sons, that are playing the guitar and the piano and things of that nature, also have that same power to be playing around the world doing this quote unquote secular music. But it's just music. But that's the interesting part. It's just music. And one of the themes that they're also talking about in this movie is the fact that everybody is a sinner no matter who you are. And that comes with two folds, in a positive light and also a negative light, because of, as the movie goes on, you see all these different characters with all these slightly different problems, right? And when you get to the twins, I always have difficulty trying to figure out which one is which, or at least which name goes with. Okay, so Smoke, fire. Smoke is the one that's he's the one that like needs his smoke, and Stack is the other cunning one. And I loved, let's talk about these characters. Let's talk to these characters. I love the way that they portrayed both of them. And especially the color coding was the colors and the outfits and just the overall vibe of these characters, right? But before I even forget this, one of the things that I peeped, I started to notice. So when it comes to looking at it like thematically, so the way that they're written, you could either view Smoke and Stack as the devil luring them away, guiding them away from the hand of God to go inside this mockery of the rest of the night, or you could view them as Ishu and Ilugwa trying to literally just send Sammy onto the right path to be able to actually actualize his abilities. And that's just something beautiful. I love the way they did that. That was fire. So you get Smoke. His character, bro, even from his dressing. He was a harsh man, a quiet man, but harsh man. Honestly, I like to compare it to the loudest dog has the weakest bite. It's kind of like a chihuahua, right? They do a whole bunch of yapping. But when this all said and done, you could kick a chihuahua. But you know who you're not going to kick? The dog that's just... that bulldog he's just chilling. He knows what he's going to do. And that's kind of... I loved how they did that specifically with him, because you could always see that he was the first one that was always like, okay, if I'm going to get into an action, I am going to kill this action. I am going to smother and destroy this thing that is causing me harm or causing me an annoyance or stepping in my way of my family or friends to achieve this goal that I have. You can see it even throughout the episode, throughout the movie. He put bullets on folks that he didn't. He was willing to put a bullet inside whoever and whatever even tried to rob him. If you're even kind of in the way of what he was trying to do, he said, don't worry, I got lead for you. At least at minimum, which was such a cool thing to see. And you can see even in his jacket, since he always had that pole on him, he always had this oversized jacket, so you weren't able to see that he had that pole on him, right? When he takes action, you're not gonna notice. He's not gonna yell at you. He's not gonna do nothing. It kind of reminds me of those real gangsters that if they saw a problem, they'd be like, okay, noted, and they're just gonna move accordingly. That's just how it's gonna be. That's just the only way to do it. And instead of the people that are willing to make all this rah-rah, all this big talk, and he doesn't even need that. He doesn't even need that to show that he is what he is, right? And then when you switch it over to his brother, Stack, you get this cool, suave, fun guy. He's an airy individual. He's a guy that's I'm just here for the good time. I'm here for my schemes. I'm just trying to make it through the day to get that buck. That's all I'm trying to do. And you can see that in the way that he moves around. He has a tight fitting suit. So you see how clean, how suave he is, and he has that mouthpiece that will just yap. And that's what I also love that about his character. He doesn't have that pistol, but he got that UK. He got that UK on him, right? Which is such a different dichotomy with the two. And one of the things I was thinking to myself while I was in the theater watching this movie, I was like, they both complement each other so well. And it kind of, I love the use of twins in this movie because I think there's a Japanese story behind the twins. If you watch Jujutsu Kaisen, they have a lot of twin dynamics in that TV show too, where it's one person that's just being split, right? And I feel like when you put those two people together, that's how you change your life. That's literally how you change your life. That's how you change your life. And I was always of the opinion that Stack, he was kind of like an idiot, low key, but if you watch the movie, you recognize that he's literally saving his brother's life. Like he is constantly putting things in a better perspective for his brother to actually see what is going on, and he's helping him see the point of view of another without it being like such like a negative thing, where I feel like a lot of people that are so like super analytical need that smooth talking suave guy to like help them through things. And the guy that gets things done, you need that guy to get those things done. And that's something that I loved about. And you know what? Let's keep going. Let's keep going on that trail. Smoke and Annie. There's a lot of lessons. There's a lot of lessons that you can learn from this movie. That's so interesting to me, because of one of the life lessons that I took away from this movie is, one, don't judge a book by its cover, and two, listen to your loved one, because they're seeing a thing that you cannot see. They're looking at it from a perspective that you are blind to, because sometimes you need someone to get in your ear and yell at you, telling you was a dumb bum. You're being dumb. You need that person that's able to slap some sense into you, even though it might sound idiotic from the first place. They had Annie's whole character was the fact that she believed and cared about the spirituality of things, and the fact that there is things on this planet that you guys are not privy to. And just if you listen, you will survive. And I love the fact that he had the sense to be like, I love this woman for a reason. Let me just put it in her hands. I know that I am not of the position right now to be able to stand firm in what I'm believing in, and get into the point where I don't even know what I believe in him, what I even believe in at this moment. Because keep in mind, this is after Stack. This is after Stack just got turned. His brother is dead in front of his eyes. And you know who takes charge? Annie takes charge. And the fact that Smoke was able to see that and see the value in that was so beautiful to me. And one of my favorite parts, I'm not gonna lie, when Smoke and Annie are in the picture together, and when I tell you they have this intimate scene that everyone was like, whoa, wait a minute, because keep in mind, everybody has these untethered biases that they do not look at, or they do not come face to face with enough. And that is what I loved about this scene, particularly because you have Annie, a bigger set woman, and nobody, I could audibly hear the whole movie theater being like, oh, wait a minute, I did not see that. And the fact that this scene happened literally, I think it was like 15 minutes into the movie, I said, we're in for a gem. We are in for one of them. And one of the things that I also took away from it was before I even get there, I feel like the way that this movie did race relations was so spot on, and so honestly, it felt unique. It genuinely felt unique. So one of the statements that it was making, you know what, before we get there, let me talk about this movie scene. Bro, they might honestly have the greatest scene in movie history inside that movie. When Sammy comes out and says, you know what, I am going to step into the light that God has gave me. I am going to use this talent that doesn't come from me. It comes from them. I just happen to be able to tap into this spiritual lining of talented musicians that only goes through so many people. Only so many people are able to touch, hold, and grab onto this power of that music is able to give you. Sammy goes and said, all right, let me lock in. They go and they bring him to the center of the stage, and they say, we got a young, talented legend on our hands. And he said, oh, me? Can't be. He pulls out that guitar and starts strumming away. He said, na 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 na. And when I tell you, the whole room's just magic starts happening. And keep in mind, if you're gonna watch this movie, you better watch it on IMAX. You better not pirate it. You better not see it on streaming services. You better go inside that movie theater and watch it, my bro. You just go watch it. Go watch them. And the whole building starts burning down with how much fire and energy is inside that room at that moment, right? And one of the things that it's doing, it goes and starts connecting how music is able to live throughout the centuries, from the past to the present and beyond and beyond. They were able to cast out lineages from the Zulu people and then push it up to this other tribe and then pushing it up to what they're seeing as modern day harmonica playing and things of that nature. Then they move towards the front. They start moving towards the future. They start having DJs with 90s Run DMC. They're doing their kicks. I'm out here watching them up. They were crip walking. And they was connecting all that. And then it got to the point where they even panned over to this one of the Asian characters, and they started bringing in their own lineage into the mix. And then you just see how beautiful everything was going. The way that they were able to connect twerking to the Ethiopians jumping up and down. That is hard. And honestly, that's kind of one of the themes that was going through the movie, because of, I don't want to spoil too much. I feel like I've spoiled a lot, but hey, go watch it. It's beautiful. But one more thing. The way that they did race relations in this movie could have been seen as really, really, really corny, but it wasn't corny. They handled it with such care and elegance that I really appreciated, because of they were asking very interesting questions, especially from the two Asian characters in the movie, because of, I'm trying to figure out what to give or what to let y'all watch. But they have this scene when everything is starting to burn down. The vamps were pulling up. It was crazy. People are dead. There's people to the side. A lot of stuff is just kicking off, right? And the wife turns to the husband and said, "Hey, we are here for the party. We were here to supply the party. We were here to dance and party. But this that's going on, we did not write that check. That is not us. We have to step aside." And honestly, that was fire. There's a whole lot more race relation stuff that was going on, but I feel like I'm spoiling far too much. Go watch that movie. It was absolutely beautiful. And next on the docket, is it bad that I watched All of You again? So the Netflix special You. The Netflix special You, main actor Penn Bagley, he showed his ass too. He was scooping. After a long, I think like 7 years, You finally comes to an end, and when I tell you, it was beautiful. And honestly, for all the internet saying that they do not like the ending, I want to say that's what we needed. That's honestly what we needed. And the fact that they were going this angle with You shows me that they were trying what they were you could see what they were trying, and at least it left the bones to lead you where it went. So that's why I'm for it. I'm definitely for it. But before I even talk about the breakdown of You the show, I want to talk about the fact that this run that You was on might be one of the better TV shows I've seen, or at least one of the better dramas I've seen in a long time, especially from a Netflix special, or at least from a Netflix ran show, because of Netflix tends to have a problem when it comes to dramas where they tend to lose the points the more money they get, and it tends to boil down to a Riverdale problem before you know it. And I'm glad that they were able to honestly wrap up this character of Joe so specifically and so in an enticing way that made you feel like you wanted more, but you were glad that it ended. But to get into it. These are some of my takes. I think Joe Goldberg hated women, but he hated women in a way that people forget is a possibility, right? I feel like the way that he loved women kind of showed the misogyny before you could really like get to know him, because of like I even rewatched season 1 so I can get like a better foundation for who the character of Beck was. And when the show starts, he pulls up and has this like, I personally believe his what's it called? His inner dialogue is not so much corny, but it's like, oh brother. that's a lot that's usually the main thing that I take away from it. But he starts off the show analyzing Beck in a way as if everything that she is doing is primarily for him and only him, right? It's another and here is the gag. It's not even for another man or even for her. It's for him, this stranger. And he's saying, oh yeah, no. All this thing that you're doing, the way you did your hair, the way that you showed off your bracelets, the way that you side-eye looked at me, the way that you even gave me your card. The way you gave me your card so you knew my name. So you wanted me to know your name. That's what he took from the scenario when they first met. That is insane. And you know what? Oh, this is another thing. I can't believe that people were rooting for him. And I was watching a lot of the interviews of the directors and things of that nature when it came to the show. People are actively rooting for him. Why? How? How? I feel like there were so many different points where they're like, okay, you're not even so much a hopeless romantic. You're just a bad guy. You're honestly just a bad, not willing to grow guy. Honestly, So I started sitting back and I was thinking to myself, I was like, how does this happen? Because like I'm going through Reddit and I'm just like looking up different things, and one of the subreddits that I kept finding was, I like the way that it ended it because it emphasizes the fact that Joe Goldberg is not special. He is not unique. He is just a random guy that's, what is the last person? Just a random guy that this Bronte Louise character will just happen to date, right? There's a lot of men that are like that. And then I'm sitting back and I'm like, Of course there are. Like that's like, yeah, of course there are men that actively believe that women's whole existence is actually surrounded around him and his protecting thing. Because the way that he shows love, he kept saying throughout the whole show, is the fact that he loved these women. He was setting himself up to be the guy that saved them when he wasn't able to save his mother back in season, I think like 2 or 3. But I'm looking back and I'm thinking, Nah, I don't think so. Nah. I think he was just loving the feeling of ending another person's life, and the fact that he was able to do it. And he was basically to me, it felt like he was just killing the guy that he wished he killed when he was a child. Oh no, he did end up killing that person as a child, but he's just living in that moment over and over and over because of the way that his mother looked at him when he was able to murder that guy, and he got sent to the side, and he was seen as a man that isn't worth loving. He's a guy that being able to love him is a flaw amongst yourself. So I feel like there's this deep dichotomy of trying to protect these women and also knowing the fact that these women can even love me in the first place shows that they don't know what they don't know what they want to. They must be this bad person that needs me to keep killing so that I am able to protect. So I'm able to protect everybody from me from you. It's weird. It's weird. When you try and look inside the mindset of his character, it gets very convoluted. And I love the way that they were able to show different parts of Joe through the women that he was dating, right? Because you get Beck, where it was more so like an accident, where he was young and naive about love, and he was just trying to save everybody from the love, or trying to save her from the world of cruel men. That she is young, she's naive, she's in college, she just doesn't know what the real world is like. So I'm gonna protect her from that. And then you switch it over to love. You switch it over to love, where he gets. I know there's someone in between love and Beck, but we don't think about her right now. That's not. Wasn't like, I don't even remember her name, but where you have Joe looking at he's looking at his own form of love, because of when you see the character of Love Quinn, you literally see what it's like for Joe to just be acting as crazy as he is, right? But he's like, nah. You're crazy. That's insane. You can't do that. That's my role. That's my whole thing. And there's a thing in season 3, he was up her butt. Like, he was constantly like demeaning her on her own ways of killing, how it's sloppy and things of that nature. But I'm like, nah, you're sloppy too. Nah, you're sloppy too. You're literally just getting lucky. That's one of the in season 5. I know I am jumping all over the place, but welcome to the Dojo Podcast. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. All that and 9. All and 9 more. Something like that. I'll figure out a catchphrase. In season 5, there's an episode where he's trying to run down his current wife's sister, because she is trying to expose the sister and him unless his wife gives up the company and making this other sister the CEO. Bro. He breaks into her house. She turns around, kicks him in the nuts, hits him, pushes him inside the water, whooping his ass. He's putting them paws on him, right? And I was thinking about this the whole series. Joe doesn't have hands. He just has a lust. He just has the human, the what do they be called? Saying it as she just has the human wheel of tasting blood. That's all. The imbobable human spirit. That's all he has. That's his whole gig. That's his whole superpower. So I'm like, yeah, finally get a woman that wants to whoop the fuck out of him, because he's not like that. He's sweet. He's super sweet. And literally the only way that she gets caught is because of she's running. I think she she slips and falls down a hill or something like that. No. The only reason why Reagan loses, he just hawks her down and hits her over the side of the head with the bowling pin, I think, something like that. And I'm like, that is such, whatever. You can have it, right? So back on Love Quinn. You see how absolutely crazy Joe is. The longer season 3 goes on with Love Quinn looking at him through this literal mirror of what he is doing, right? And he's like, nah, that's not me. I gotta go. So he literally goes and burns down the home with his wife in it after he kills her, puts Henry into the foster system, disappears to London. He goes to London for a bit, and he goes and starts a whole life as a why is my British and my Nigerian accent jumping in together? But that's not the point. They go and live a whole life. He goes and lives his new life in London, right? Where he's a teacher. He's just chilling. He's not really so much dating. He's just living the nightlife. He's not doing something new crazy. And literally he goes and he goes and has a mental breakdown. His mind goes and splits amongst itself, right? It goes and splits. And he goes around London murdering really rich oligarchs, right? Really rich guys. He kills a politician. He kills I think he kills his wife's cousin. I don't remember that season that much, but it was very dark. It was very dreary, right? And the only way that he's able to actually get out of that scenario, he goes and finds this CEO, and they fall in love. This billionaire goes and wipes off his whole record, gives him back his life, goes and gets his child back, and they go back to New York City, where he has the perfect life. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I guess I could just live this life and just be rich and like, famous to my billionaire wife, and I guess I could do that. And then it's not enough. It's just not enough. And do you know why? Do you know why it's not enough? Because I don't think he ever really respected, what is her name? Kate Lockwood. I don't think he ever loved or cared about Kate Lockwood in the slightest. More so like a means to an end, and then ratchet that up by like 100, right? That's the type of vibe I was getting off of him. And then you fast forward a little bit to what fucking Bronte. So Bronte was Guinevere Beck's student back when she was in college, and she was back home. She was back home in, I think, Iowa. That's where they put her in. And when Gweck died, it kind of made her very, very suspicious. Not so much suspicious. Well, she wasn't suspicious yet, but it made her very sad. And then she was holding on to the memory and the image of Guinevere Beck through her book. And she was reading the book, and she was like, this doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound right. And you know what tips her off? There's some writing in there where it seemed like she saw it as like, nah, this is way too misogynistic for her work. It cannot. She was like, this cannot at all. It can't be her. And you know what happens? She goes through the internet trying to figure out what's going on. And then she randomly goes upon this Reddit forum where they're talking about this Joe guy isn't, he's not as what we think. He's not the world as we think. And there's this overarching theme of trying to make sure these victims get their say and their voice, and trying to have them rewrite their own stories and actually get the justice that they deserve of this maniac Joe Goldberg that's been going around and just murdering people, right? This maniac Joe Goldberg that's just been going around and just like murdering people, right? And the way that they're able to tie everything together, it's not that I don't think it works. It's more so the message that they were giving. I just think people don't like Bronte. I think they just find her insufferable. But I think that's like part of her character. From the starts, it was seen that she was a pretty insufferable character, and the fact that people don't. Let me talk about what I think. This is what I think is important. The fact that she was the one that was able to put Joe down, kind of made me feel a sense of vindication, because of it always felt like something dumb would be the reason why he slips up, right? And I think the thing that made him slip up with her is primarily through the fact that he thought that she would want to go along with it. But I think that's more so on his end, being like, well, I'm gonna find love if you like it or not. So it's either you go along with this love that I'm giving you, or you'll actually just die. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm tired of it. Because he's gotten to the point where he has seen all these different people. His past has came back to haunt him multiple times. The people he thought he murdered with his are back telling him that he's the bad guy. The lady that he went and put inside literal prison is back telling him that he's the bad guy, and he's trying to emotionally ratify to see if it can't be him. It has to be all these other women that are just objectively wrong, that they don't know what they want. They are the idiots. And it kind of reminded me of when it kind of put me back inside the mindset of when they had the one guy that was trying to hunt down Bronte. They had him in the back. They had him inside the cage, right? And his whole thing was, I'm trying to make women like you understand that they can't keep putting men in this scenario and this situation, and basically just being the classic incel, just the objective incel, where it's like, oh, it's all women's fault, all this stuff. They deserve to be harmed because of the things that they are doing. Which in logic that doesn't really logic that doesn't really make the best of sense, but. It always hurts me that that's the type of misogyny that people are able to view and digest, but they're not able to see the type of stuff that Joe Goldberg is doing, right? Because you saw Bronte as she was actively falling in love with this character of Joe. She was hoping that it was all a lie, even though she literally had all the evidence. They had all the evidence showing that it was going to be Joe is at least doing something insane, right? But all of that just turned off because of he was one charming, he was one attractive, and honestly, I think it's because he's white. I think this is all happening. That was all the leeway, at least. It's just white man privilege. That's the only thing I was taking away while I was watching this show. From being let out of jail to the vast majority seeing him as a Prince Charming, even though he was literally just a white knight. He was literally just a white knight. And have y'all ever seen the harassment and what is it? Flirting and harassment, where it's just a slight change on who is actually delivering the message. And I feel like that is one of those things that are able to go and cloud the visions of everyone else around who this Joe Goldberg person is, because he even said it when he was going up against Bronte. He was like, all the people I've murdered, all the time I've been in front of the courts, nothing ever happened, but you think that you're going to be the one that's able to make all this change. And it literally needed to come to that for her to be like, okay, no, you're genuinely crazy. Not when he trapped a guy in the basement. Not when he went and looked at you as he was looking at you for the okay to murder this man. Like that's insane. That's insane. So let's real quick. Wow, we're running a little bit late. But I love the way that they were literally able to not murder him, because I was like, there's no way he gets sent off in death, because if he dies, it better not be from a Bronte bullet. That's insane. That is insane. There are so many other women that deserve to be able to put two in his side piece, because there's a lot missing. There's a lot missing over there. So the fact that it's like, no, we're gonna put you in prison for life, and two, we're gonna take your manhood. That's for her. That's more so for her than anybody else. That was a perfect way to end it. And before I end this pod, we're running late. 100 men versus one gorilla. Okay, so this question has been running through the internet by storm, and honestly, I have a lot to say about this. I have a lot to say about this. So let's start off with, I feel like the parameters around this conversation needs to be set before we could have a true, genuine conversation about any of this, right? Let's begin with one. What is the reason for us to be fighting a silverback gorilla? And is this a death match? Because of one of the things that you recognize, especially with gorillas, silverbacks to be specific, they're not violent creatures. They're not violent at all. They're honestly, they're kind of like us. Whereas like, if peace is an option, peace will be taken because they don't like fighting. They do not want to get in a fight. It expends a lot of energy to be out here getting in fights, right? So let's start off with that. I find it funny because that's why you tend to see a lot of in superhero content specifically. Gorillas aren't really like that violent. They're usually just like smart creatures that are like, I'll rather think through all of this than actually like get into a fight, right? But we have a gorilla versus 100 humans. First, what type of humans are we talking about? Because of that was I've had a couple takes on this on TikTok too, if you've seen me over there. The type of humans that we are picking will have to be very specific because there's always a type of man that we will need to be able to do a job like this, because it seems like this is just a drop a gorilla in the center, a random gorilla just wanting to live their life. But if it's a thing where it's a bloodlusted gorilla and 100 bloodlusted men, I think that's where we really need to figure this out. Because of with the men, is it a thing where it's like random? Because if it's random, I will have trouble with seeing the average man, one, being physically strong enough to not just be like complete cannon fodder, and two, they'll need to be able to figure out a strategy and be able to keep to the strategy, right? So we will need men that have a history of being locked in. If we can get army men, Marines, that'll probably be the better case scenario, because of like I've seen a lot of videos of Florida men. Oh, and that's another thing. Is it a thing where we're just gonna have crazy people? Because if we just pull up with 100 crackheads, I think it needs 37 of them, and an 8-ball might do the biscuit, right? or it could be a case of like the type of people that will be needed to be able to understand how to fight an animal will be very specific. Because I just saw a video of this alligator that was just like out in Florida by the car that he was just causing a muck, right? And they had literal wranglers coming out to like come get this alligator, but they were having trouble. And then a Florida man jumps out of their truck. This Florida Marine man goes and starts wrestling this alligator, mounts this alligator, and then helps them haul him away. And it turns out he was just a Marine man that just wanted to jump into action, bro. So I was like, are we having been like that? Because of like when we start getting through the stats of like what a gorilla is, gorillas are like 6 foot, a good 600 pounds, pure just jacked muscular specimens, right? How are we gonna injure this gorilla? That will be one of my main questions, because of like they're designed to take a whole bunch of brute force. So it might be a thing of like the continual aggression of the wave after wave after wave, because of like, as we know, gorillas don't have infinite they do not have infinite stamina. Like we don't have infinite stamina. We're able to take it here and there type of thing. So it might be a thing of cardio being one of the main factors, because of if we're able to get a group of men that actually want to fight, or at least they're able to continuously keep staying on task and staying on mission, then we might be able to see something nice. We might be able to see an upset of all-time upsets, because of humans have this way of just not giving up. Because like people think intellect is the reason why humans have been able to advance the way that we've advanced. So it's like, yeah, that has been a really, really, really big part of the strength and the bounds. The fact that we've been able to head to space. We've touched the moon. We've been into the ocean. We've done everything. But the main power a human being has is this inbodiable spirit. Is this need to be the one? It's that need to continuously move forward. That is what it means to be human. So I feel like that abominable spirit might be the thing that's able to jump us through the edge a little bit, because of I hadn't even really touched on the true strength and the battle technique of a gorilla. Because of with the gorilla, there is going to be a chance that a lot of people just get one-shotted if they are not prepared. So the emphasis on preparedness will be what's needed, right? Because of when you look at the stats, the strongest man, I think they lifted around like 500. I think that's when you start to like max out on like just human strength in particular. But like a gorilla can like bench press if they had to like 1,500. That's like on the lower end, right? So like the pure amount of strength is just gargantuan. Like the space between 1 and 2 is like a valley. It's a huge cave, right? But the emphasis of the continual boxing might be what helps the humans in a scenario like this. I'm leaning more human, but I feel like we will need to have trained humans to be able to do this, because of the first 10 people will get mollywopped. Because of people were talking about, oh, humans, they have the adrenaline to be able to conquer most things. But I'm like, a gorilla got that too. A gorilla, when it comes to like safety, they beat their chest for a reason. They will grab and start throwing, because they can grab a tree and throw a tree. I don't even want to know what it will do to a human body. And not even to mention their four appendages, they like all hand. Like this, like they feet is hand. So I couldn't imagine a gorilla going and kicking one of y'all. That's how you get your chest out your body, like a Mortal Kombat victory. I could see a silverback gorilla grabbing a femur, ripping out the femur, and using the femur. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. And that's if they're taking y'all seriously. If it's a thing where it's like, you know what, let's test a few. I can see them pooping in their hands and throwing it. And just off of shock factor alone, I think that might move a lot of y'all out the way. I'm not gonna lie, because So yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things that people will have to keep in mind when they are trying to get a battle off in this scenario. Because I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like a gorilla will do a lot of damage. That's what I think. So if it's a thing where it's like, because they started asking different athletes how they feel like they would fare against the gorilla, and one of the things that I started to notice, when you get to specific types of athletes, it tends to change very, very quickly, right? Because I've seen a lot of MMA guys being like, okay, it's not going to take much. It's going to take like 10 guys, maybe. But I feel like that's more so because they understand how it works. But I'm still a little skeptical, because it's like, you're telling me you're going to choke out a gorilla? How? Their necks are like trees. So I feel like it might literally just be it's not going to be a damage that we do. It's going to be an exhaustion factor. That's probably what's going to be the best case scenario to be able to defeat a silverback gorilla. If you reached this far, make sure you leave a like, a comment, or subscribe, all that stuff. If you like sports, starting Kinda No Ball podcast on its way soon, and we're out.